Thank you very much. And dear Patricia, welcome on the stage.
Thank you very much, Jirka. Thank you so much. Dobrý den, vážení kolegové. Good day. Dear colleagues, thank you, Jirka. Thank you for your help. Am I in the center of your screen now? Is this okay? You can see me okay? Yep. Let me just shift my screen then, because I have my screen incorrect. Let me just get this right. Okay. No. Okay. I am very honored to speak to you all at this conference through the wonders of Zoom, and I'm very pleased to know that there is a simultaneous translation for those for whom it is beneficial. Thank you, Jirka, for the invitation to be able to speak. Thank you, Eugenius, dear colleague, for this beautiful description about the history of the EAP. I'm speaking to you from the UK. And as Jirka has said, I'm president-elect of the European Association for Psychotherapy. And perhaps this may seem strange to some of you that I hold this position and yet I live in the UK, which is about to undergo the quite terrible Brexit process, which I am completely against. However, in a way, it isn't strange. It is actually wonderful that through the European Association for Psychotherapy, which covers 41 European countries, both those that are within the EU and non-EU countries as well. It includes Russia, it includes Switzerland, Scandinavian countries. So it stretches and spans actually bigger than the EU. And as Eugenius so movingly said, in peacetime Europe, the project of the European Association for Psychotherapy is a very, very important one. And I feel very honored, and it's a real opportunity actually to become president in 2021, particularly from the position of living in the UK, because I think that as a profession, it is going to be so important that we continue to build bridges across Europe. And there's a very particular bridge that I can help to keep connected, make sure the bridge doesn't fall down, make sure the bridge stays in one piece so that the UK continues to be a part of Europe through professional links, even if it can't politically continue to be part of Europe. So I feel proud to be part of this profession that can work as a bridge across 41 European countries. I encourage you all to be proud of the profession that you are part of that builds bridges. And for me, this is an important dimension of the future of psychotherapy in Europe, that we hold standards of training and education within our profession right across Europe, and that we can make high quality psychotherapy available to the people who need it. This is so important. Make it available to the people who need it across all 41 European countries. So I have 3 points that I would like to speak about. The first one is about psychotherapy, its power to heal at many different levels. The second is about the status of the profession in Europe. I would like to describe to you exactly where we are in establishing the status of the independent profession of psychotherapy in Europe. And then thirdly, I would like to say something about the COVID crisis in Europe, some of the mental health consequences that we are noticing and experiencing, and the role of psychotherapy in relation to the crisis. So, as Jurka said in his kind introduction, I have over 30 years of clinical and professional experience working in the public sector for the NHS and in the universities. I've established a new psychotherapy service in a university in China, a fairly extraordinary thing to do. I've worked for the professional organisations of UK universities and the UK Council for Psychotherapy, and now for the European Association for Psychotherapy. And in all this time, and with all this experience, I have been so impressed with the power of psychotherapy to bring healing, to transform people's lives, and to unlock their potential. I'd like to just draw for a moment from something that one of my clients said to me. I have a client who suffered from severe sexual abuse when she was a young child, and she developed a dissociated personality. There was a dissociation which was directly happened because of the severity of the trauma of the abuse. And so she's lived with a dissociated personality all of her adult life. And she has said to me that the healing of her trauma and the healing of her dissociated personality through psychotherapy is like the Japanese art of kintsugi. Now, kintsugi, probably some of you know, but I'll just explain it. It's the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery in a way that gives it a new lease of life. Usually, when a precious vase breaks, we feel such a sense of regret and we throw the pieces away. But there is an alternative, and this is kintsugi. The Japanese art of kintsugi uses liquid gold and powdered gold. So it uses gold to bring back together the pieces of the vase. So as the vase comes back together, it is again an intact structure, but it is changed. It is even more beautiful than it was before it broke, because the pieces as they came together have been decorated, have been brought back together with gold. And so now it shines with a new quality. And actually, it has a greater strength and a greater resilience. So, and each vase now becomes unique because it's different from any other vase. So kintsugi suggests to us that we don't throw away broken things, because that can become valuable in itself, and the breakage points become a thing of beauty, and that's the essence of its resilience. So what my client is saying in using this metaphor, and as we all know, metaphors are so powerful in psychotherapy, she's saying that she experiences the healing of the wounds and the trauma that happened in her early life is like bringing the internal fragments back together with liquid gold and powdered gold, that she can already experience the beauty in her new sense of herself. So to her astonishment, she's finding that she's becoming resilient and strong and beautiful. She says that she's learning that wholeness and life come from holding steady and facing the truth, however searing and however painful that is. She's reclaiming her power and choosing life and she's healing. And this is a wonderful testimony for the power of psychotherapy at work in one individual. But I think this metaphor of kintsugi actually works on a lot of other levels. I think it works at the level of the European Association for Psychotherapy, because we can bring together through our profession the countries of Europe. I can talk to you today across from the UK to Prague. When we meet, we are board members from all across the 41 European countries, and we sit down as colleagues and we are building bridges and repairing any damage that's there through war, but also through other, as we know, sometimes difficulties and breakages within our profession. So the European Association for Psychotherapy, I think, also follows that principle of kintsugi. We bring things together and we try to work to build them to something even stronger, more beautiful, more resilient as the profession across Europe. I think also psychotherapy can have a power to act at the level of governments and at the level of countries, because mental health is a huge problem now for pretty much most countries in the world. The drain on the economy of countries, the drain on the economy of Europe through poor mental health is a real problem for countries and their finances and governments. Poor mental health leads to days lost at work, to increased levels of using sickness benefits, to increased demand on doctors and on health services. And research evidence has shown that psychotherapy can reduce the number of days lost through poor mental health, reduce the demand on health services, reduce the demand on hospitals, reduce the need for sickness benefit, and therefore has a positive financial contribution to make to the country and to governments. And we know actually that this is really important to the EU, and it's something that supports the contact that we have now with the EU, knowing that they are looking for ways of reducing the costs of poor mental health, and psychotherapy has something to say here. In 2021, I'm going to be giving a paper to the World Congress, of Psychotherapy. I hope this will be in Moscow, but if not, it will be online. And I'm going to talk about psychotherapy in relation to something even bigger, which is climate change. And I think even there, this metaphor of kintsugi has a place. What role on earth can psychotherapists play in the huge problem that faces us, which is climate crisis? But I think that we do have something to say, because we understand the ego of humankind. We know how to listen and how to analyze the ego of humankind. And the truth is that the ego of humankind has become too dominant for the planet that we live on, too dominant in relation to all of the other living creatures on the planet. And so there are things that we can say. We may not be the people who act, we're not producing solar panels, but we can still be part of the discussion. What are the most effective things that can be done to avert, even at this late stage, the climate crisis? So I think even there, psychotherapists, through this metaphor of kintsugi, can bring important aspects of healing. So I'd like to say something now about the status of the profession of psychotherapy in Europe. The first thing is to introduce to you the Psychotherapy Act. Now, Jyrke has produced a booklet that I don't know how many people have seen it. I'll just show it on my screen. So this is the booklet for the European Association for Psychotherapy, and inside it, here, can you see this? Is the Psychotherapy Act. And the Psychotherapy Act was adopted and supported by the EAP in 2019. And also last year, we submitted this Psychotherapy Act. I think it's a very good, it's a brief description. When I say Psychotherapy Act, what it means is, what is the act? What are the actions that a psychotherapist does that makes them uniquely psychotherapists? And it is a good description that particularly highlights the importance of the relationship in psychotherapy. And it also states the independence of psychotherapy from the professions of psychiatry and psychology and counselling. We have now submitted that psychotherapy. We have now submitted the Psychotherapy Act to the European Union. It's been submitted to the European Commission, to the particular section that oversees the professions in Europe. And I'm pleased to say that our Psychotherapy Act has now been adopted by them. So this already has become the official Psychotherapy Act, which represents our profession, which is accepted within the European Commission. So this was an important first step that we established last year. So the wording that you have in your booklet there, that is the wording which is now the accepted wording. There's also something else which is called ESCO, which is the European Standardized Classification of Occupations. And there also we have a description which includes the independent profession of psychotherapy. The next step, and Eugenius has already briefly mentioned this, the next step that we are in the middle of at the moment is to submit to the European Commission a document requesting the establishment of the Common Training Framework. The initials for that are CTF. So where you hear it talked about CTF, that means Common Training Framework for the profession of psychotherapist. So to become a psychotherapist and a full clinician psychotherapist. And in order to establish this CTF for the profession of psychotherapist, we have to submit a lot of documentation detailing all of the training standards, detailing the different routes into becoming a psychotherapist. And these include both the route through our training schemes through the European Association for Psychotherapy, and also the route that Eugenius was mentioning about through universities. So it describes in detail the route, it describes in detail all of the criteria that are needed in order to become a psychotherapist, all of the different components of training. It then outlines all of the aspects of holding the position of being a psychotherapist, the ethical standards, all of the professional standards, everything that is required in order to practice as a psychotherapist. So this document is quite a large document, and it has all of those details. And then in addition, it has details of of 9 countries, because this is what the European Commission requires. They require 9 countries that are EU countries to represent everyone. So we have details about the training and education standards and professional standards to become a psychotherapist in 9 EU countries. And this has been submitted now to the European Commission. And I'm really pleased to say that we have heard that it has been really well received. We are helped in this work through someone who has been working as a consultant to the EAP. He's called Professor Theodoros Kotroubas, and he works for the organisation that Eugenius mentioned, which is called CEPLIS, which is the liberal professions in Europe. And so he has submitted our document to the European Commission, acting on our behalf. And so far, what we have heard from them is that the European Commission have stated that our document is well written and reliable. So these are important words for us to hear. And this means that our document has now been accepted, and the process of establishing the common training framework for the profession of psychotherapist is now underway and is now happening even as we speak in Brussels. We have to be very patient now because the European Commission are quite behind in their work because of having to pay attention to responding to the pandemic, and so we are going to have to be very patient to hear an outcome. But at least what we know is that the documents we have submitted have been accepted, and now this will all go forwards. There's one very important point to make. We hope, obviously, we hope that there will be a successful outcome to the submission of the documents, and that the successful outcome will be an establishment of the common training framework for the profession of psychotherapist. And this will apply all the way across the European Union. And because of their link with the EAP, it can stretch to cover all of the countries represented in EAP. But the EU won't then start to place and impose regulations on our profession. This is a really important point. They don't want to do that. They don't want to get into the detail of regulating professions. What they want is a common standard, but then to give the autonomy to the professions to regulate their own standards. So in fact, this process will empower us as a profession. We will regulate our own profession. And so it's going to be a very empowering thing once it is complete. And it will allow for psychotherapists from one country to work in another. And now through Zoom, of course, this has become something that is much more possible. So these are important developments. They are happening as I speak. And now is the time for patience, because we just have to wait until the European Commission can attend to and carry our process forward. But it's all in place. So the final thing I wanted to say a little bit about, I hope I'm okay for time. Is this okay, Jurke? I've got one more thing to say.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I just wanted to say some things that we have learned already about the impact of the COVID crisis on mental health across Europe. And I just want to begin with a quote. This is a quote from a fairly well-known footballer, in fact. There are many, many times when I want to give up, period, on life, on everything. Some days it comes totally out of the blue and I have to concede defeat. I know I can't beat it. Some days are a total blur. My battle in mental health against the threat of feeling suicidal is being intensified by COVID-19, and I am being tested to my very limits. A really powerful statement from a celebrity, a well-known footballer, who has been open about his psychological problems before and his mental health problems before, and now has spoken out to say how much more difficult it is for him because of being isolated and because of the changes in his life as a result of COVID-19. Not many people have talked about the dangers of confinement, but it's full of risks for those who have mental health problems. Many people throughout this crisis have considered suicide, have committed suicide. The suicide figures are higher in this period of time, have felt claustrophobia on a level of intensity that they've never felt before, anxiety, and very, very fearful. And also we know about impact on relationships. That certainly for a lot of people, the impact on their relationships has been very, very negative. And what we do know, because we've heard anecdotally, it's anecdotal at the moment, that psychotherapists across Europe are actually, it's not too much of an exaggeration to say that they are every day saving lives throughout this pandemic, because psychotherapists are working with those who have been driven to thoughts of suicide by this crisis. And they've been doing it actually mostly online, through the phone, through Zoom and other online platforms. We're not putting our lives at risk, maybe, in the way that front care staff are, but we're saving lives in this pandemic. It is anecdotal information at the moment, but I just wanted to take the opportunity to say that we're conducting a questionnaire through our links with EAP at the moment. It's not too late actually for you all to take part in this. I think Jurka will have a copy of the questionnaire, but yes, he's nodding. Perhaps this can be distributed to all of the conference participants today. That would be, thank you, that would be really good, Jurka. And it's not too late to take part in it. The deadline is Monday, the 23rd of November. So I think that is a week on Monday. And it takes about 20 minutes to fill it in. We're really asking you for your experience as a psychotherapist during this period of time. We're asking you, have you been doing more work online during this period of time? We're asking you, what have you noticed are different symptoms, new presenting problems that you have noticed in your clients and patients during this period of time. There is an email address which is in the EAP office, and you return the questionnaire directly to the EAP office, not to Jurka. So Jurka will send it to you, but then as you return it, please return it to the EAP office email address, which is given on the questionnaire. Thank you very much. I would really appreciate you being part of that. And of course, we hope that we will learn some really valuable things from the outcome of this questionnaire. Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
yeah.
Patricia, thank you for your supporting contribution. And if anyone has any questions, so